Hello, hello, my beautiful global friends and colleagues. It's Isabella Limit here with phenomenal woman from Bay Area, June Colaroso. Welcome, June. How are you?
I am so excited to be here, Isabella. Thank you so much for having me.
Absolutely, it's great to have you. And this is one of my first, actually, it's the first LinkedIn Live, Facebook Live, and YouTube Live. But I wanted to definitely bring some really great content tonight. And I'm really appreciative for your time and opportunity to be tonight with us.
Of course. It's such an honor to be your first guest. Thank you for having me again.
Absolutely. June, do you mind sharing just a little bit about your background? I purposely didn't want to disclose too much of information because I really want you to highlight where you've been before you deep dive into 2020 and then how everything started transforming on your personally, professionally for you.
Yes. So the majority of my career, I do come from a sales background. And then once I became a mother, I pivoted into HR recruiting. So I have spent the last 5, 6 years building teams and communities for some of the best tech companies in the world, from Google to Wish to Netflix and Tesla. My background is a blend between agency recruiting to in-house and to tech and startup. So that's the majority of my background. And I believe that, when I became a mother and I took some time off to raise my child for about a year and a half, my husband had recommended that I take some time off from work. He said, why don't you try to be a stay-at-home mom and see how that goes? Obviously that didn't work out because nothing wrong about being stay-at-home moms. Like that's like the hardest job in the world. But that year and a half that I took time off for work, I volunteered for a nonprofit. It was then when I discovered my passion of building community. So I actually used that experience, put that on my resume, and that's what actually got me to my first recruiting position in an agency company at a recruiting firm. So started my career there, had an amazing opportunity to consult for Google, supporting and hiring their teams within finance and financial analysts, accountants, and then made my way to Wish, which was a great startup which focuses on like e-commerce. That's when I really discovered my passion. I've always been passionate about entrepreneurship, but being in the startup environment really exposed me of building things from scratch, building new teams, building new ideas. So yeah, that's the bulk of my experience in less than a minute or so.
That is fantastic. I know it's a lot there to break it down, but guys, obviously, beside major top brands that all of us are looking and admiring that are fitting actually in the top Fortune 10 or 15, tell us what caliber individual you are and what you had to be in order to really play in such a high demanding, not only recruitment job, but top quality talent and be able to navigate with those brands on such a high demands of such a high volumes of resumes, right? And insane talent pool to choose from.
Yes, absolutely. Especially too working during my time at Google. I mean, there's just the name in itself is such a world recognized brand that I was getting flooded with so many resumes, so many messages in my LinkedIn inbox that it was hard to navigate. But that just having that experience working for an amazing company like Google and having that under my belt and my experience, I also had the opportunity to work with so many forward-thinking managers, and to be honest, like, I did have a little bit of imposter syndrome when I was working there for a little bit, but they're the most humble people, the most talented, and these are professionals that have went to top tier universities, but it's a very diverse group of professionals as well. But just the culture in itself really gave me an idea of what the tech industry is like, and that's actually gave me like the my feet wet in the tech world.
Yes, and obviously being in the Bay Area, specifically where everything kind of springboard from there, the hub of the tech industry, and then obviously being part of the Netflix and Tesla and some other brands, What I see as a common theme here is not only that there are obviously top Fortune 15 or 20, but there are also very innovative companies that hold their own no matter what, even during the challenging time. Fortunately, 2020 affected us all, right? And entrepreneurship piece that you mentioned a second ago, it's obviously something that you are now switching, right? And then you are kind of getting your feet wet and on ad hoc, not necessarily with so much preparation.
Yeah, no preparation. I didn't go into this year expecting to start my own business, to be an entrepreneur. I actually, unfortunately, I was one of the millions of people who were laid off back in April because of this pandemic, because of COVID. And, you know, I look at the whole experience. Yes, it was unfortunate. Yes, I went into a depression and had a little bit of anxiety, but I actually took that time. You know, the moment I got laid off, a week after I got laid off, I told myself, well, actually, I'll give you a little bit of a backstory. So the day that I got laid off, it was in my backyard. I received an email from our HR team letting us know that there's going to be some cuts because of COVID. And the moment I got the news, I ran into my kitchen. I started to cry. And my son saw me crying. He said, "Mom, why are you crying?" And I said, "I lost my job because of COVID." My 6-year-old son, and I always talk about my kids. I mean, you see my posts every week.
Yes.
But they are my biggest why. And when I started to cry, he ran into his bedroom. He got his wallet, and he said, we had just celebrated his 6th birthday. He said, "Mom, I have $20. I can help you and you and Dad pay the bills." And Isabella, it was that moment in time when I said, no, this layoff is not going to define my career. It's not. I went into action mode. Yes, I was grieving that loss of my job, but then all of the ideas that I've been sharing with the companies I've worked, I said, you know what? I'm going to do it for myself, and I'm going to build my own business. I didn't know what the business was going to be. I just started being experimental, playing with, you know, social media marketing, and then learning how to do video editing. And eventually, you know, once I started helping other people, volunteering, people started reaching out to me. "Hey, June, can you help me with my resume? I'm actually interviewing at this company. Can you help me optimize my LinkedIn profile?" Then I realized, okay, there's a huge need here.
Absolutely.
I have experience building teams for these Fortune 500 companies. It was like my aha moment. And then what I did with a little bit of my severance package, I invested a little bit of that into myself by working with a coach. And it was the best investment that I could have done from my layoff. So I kind of feel like my layoff happened for a reason, because it had a bigger purpose in life, a bigger mission, and that's to build my own business so I could create this legacy for my children and for my family. And yeah, that was kind of a long-winded answer, but
no, it's perfect, and I love that you share all of that, because you answer also importance how is to pivot, how you also leverage your huge why, which is your children, longevity for your own family. And what I love about it, even though you grieved, even there was a lot of pain, you did not wallow into that. You used that to propel you to move forward. And I think that is really essential and important, because interesting fact that is over 33 close to 34 millions of small businesses in the United States being accounted in just this year. And question it is, how many of these businesses going to be surviving, and how many of them are going to disappear, when we're also seeing the major brands from Fortune 500 completely being vanished, right? Cutting down. But again, not to look at from negative and despair, but opportunity, how we can shine. And you did exactly what you did. You adopted, you pivoted, you embraced the magnitude of change, and went back to, like, what do I know? What can I offer, and how to position? And for everybody that is listening and watching this, guys, I just wanted to encourage you to also check June's LinkedIn profile, because something beautiful happened. I'm sure you did not arrive to the brain you have at this moment, but was probably percolating over a few months. And if you don't mind sharing the journey, because that is also entrepreneurial, very big, huge aspects of it. Because how we scale down, right now you're scaling it, right? Something that you can do it, that you can manage and do it effectively. How you also experiment, and you experiment till you fine tune it. And I just absolutely love your brand. So do you mind elaborating a little bit how that start connecting the dots with who you are right now?
You know what's crazy is, oh my gosh, I didn't have a brand when I was working at these companies. I didn't have a digital presence on LinkedIn. And the moment I lost my job, I asked myself, who am I? Who am I without these companies that I am working for? That's when I started experimenting, and that's when I integrated what I love of building community and sharing my experiences on LinkedIn. And before I even started my business, I just started sharing my layoff story, my layoff journey, and then just started back in, I want to say in July, no, late June, I posted my first video talking about my layoff. And then I just started sharing advice and tips to help job seekers navigate through this time. And it was like every month I would basically overcome a fear. So I overcame a fear of like after before I even started creating my own content on LinkedIn, for a month or so, I just started building community by commenting on people's posts, commenting on other leaders and entrepreneurs' articles and videos. And then that's when I built up the courage to say, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and show my own content, share whatever experience. Because the reason why I started sharing my journey on LinkedIn is I didn't see anyone out there on LinkedIn that looked like me.
Yes.
That was a mother that has 2 children, that's a woman of color, that I didn't graduate from a top tier university. I didn't graduate college till I was 28. And I came from a non-traditional background. I didn't see anyone that looks like me. So I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and start showing up on LinkedIn by sharing my story, because I want to help other women out there, other mothers out there specifically too, and letting them know that they could fully be themselves 100% authentically on LinkedIn and be successful. But if you actually look at my journey on LinkedIn back in late June when it started, you could, like, the first video I posted, I was very reserved.
Yeah.
And then it kind of just progressed, each month came by. And now I'm like, I just show up how I show up on LinkedIn, how I would show up in everyday life.
Authentic, real, not staged, fully present, and fully comfortable who you are. And this is such a great pivot, guys, because whatever we face initially that is making us very uncomfortable, whatever we fear, but in order to achieve that greatness, we need to take action. And you're a perfect example of doing that. I remember a few years back when I wrote my book, From Fear to Greatness, Business, Sports, and Life Lessons, I used some of these analogies so that people could relate. And this magnitude of change, and exactly what you're sharing right now, is so perfect because it's so relevant, not just to you and people of a minority of color, but so many other women across the globe that are experiencing similar thing and trying to figure out their own voice and opportunity to produce and create something for themselves and stand for something that they believe in. And you're doing all of that.
Yes. It's hard work.
and it took a time. And I love that you also put a sequence that was June, July. Now we're towards December. So it took about, 5 to 6 months, right? To go through all these different phases and stages. And right now, like, I just love your giggle, the glow, that this natural way of being, because on the end of the day, we attract and resonate with people that are similar to us, and then we would like to truly connect on those certain levels. Some people are seeking genuinity and intensity. Some people are seeking completely different things, and as a result, it helps us also to create phenomenal community and great tribe, doesn't it?
No, it does. It's all about too, like, where, like, how like entrepreneurship is pivoting into like social selling. People are, there's social media marketing and there's social selling, where you sell by building community, by sharing your story, and you're building your audience, your brand, right? And showing up authentically. And that's what I've been doing is with my content, I don't come off too salesy. I just share my experience. I share my value. And I think like the biggest advice I could give entrepreneurs or people that are looking to build a brand on LinkedIn, always start off by servicing your community, by sharing your messaging, share your value, and then tell a little bit, show people who you are as a person. Because
that is amazing. And one of the key things that I'm also seeing that actually, what a lot of companies are failing, specifically not allowing their employees to have their own individual brand, because that's what really, when they're shining, where they're most authentic themselves, help to be most authentic across the board in every other environment, doesn't it?
Yes.
But one of the things I also, what you just mentioned here, I remember, you know, Power Personal Story being in entertainment industry, scripts, movies, there was always this different notion where the personal story is applicable. And I love to see this amazing cohesion and transformation that I'm seeing how personal story has so much weight in business, how we're not anymore artificially separating your personal life, your children, your mother, your wife, all these different roles, and how much you come as a whole package, as a whole being, versus, you know, sterilizing, compartmentalizing just a specific ways that created so much friction, pain, disappointment, demotivation, and as a result, really low performance. And right now I see first time something that is happening so organically, which I'm super excited, which is exactly this connection of personal story in the business. Do you mind sharing a little bit about that? Because reason why, you mentioned something earlier that I think it's extremely powerful. You were sharing your story. When did you graduate from college? You didn't graduate from top Ivy League colleges and whatnot, and then you were maybe graduating a little bit later in the game, but that did not prevent you to work for the top 10 or 15 Fortune companies. You see the paradox here, guys, because we have perception that we need to be certain where we used to be pitched in order to get X, Y, and Z, you need to do this. And the reality is completely different, and you're living an example of that.
Yes, and that's like that, and that's why my biggest passion is to empower those underdogs, those people that came from non-traditional backgrounds who want to break into tech, because I'm that underdog. I've been the underdog, right? And for me, the reason why I wasn't able to, I didn't graduate until later in my late 20s is because, you know, my parent, I came from humble beginnings, you know, and my parents are immigrants from the Philippines, and, you know, they weren't making the most, like we didn't have access to everything, all the fancy things in life, and we probably only went to Disneyland once in my childhood. But I was always working. I always, and I shared this on a recent podcast interview, I get my work ethic and my hustle from my parents. And the moment I was able to start working, I got a working permit at the age of 13. So I've been working since I was 13. I think that's where my grit comes from, and my hard work and my work ethic is because I don't know. And that's why I'm always like doing what I'm doing on LinkedIn. But I didn't graduate college until 28 because my parents couldn't afford to pay for college. And I was going in between community colleges within my career in sales, in retail sales. And then about 25-ish, that's when I realized, okay, I need to get my act together. I need to pursue and complete my college education. But it wasn't, Isabella, until I actually became a mother when I realized, like, I need to, if I'm going to leave my child 40 hours a week, I need to do something that I love and enjoy in my career. So that's why, you know, that time of reflection, when I did take some time off from work, that's when I realized, okay, I need to pursue other options and other opportunities. And that's when I pivoted into recruiting from sales.
Wow. And I'm sure you discover also, because you love people, you're a people person, and obviously helping people to flourish and thrive. Sales has definitely still a huge people element, but it's slightly different, right? It's a different types of skill set. And I can see why you pivoted and went in that direction. Seems like you're also much more happier doing that.
Yes, I mean, because I love sales because it gave me the opportunity to build those relationships, and that's when I get my people skills. But then when I pivoted into recruiting, just like recruiting is just like sales. You're basically just selling the company and the opportunity to the candidate, and selling the candidate and being their advocate to the hiring team, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and now I'm basically kind of blending both worlds, from my experience in sales and community building to now pivoting into coaching and basically teaching all of that I've learned in my tech experience of all of the recruiting strategies, now just basically pivoting and teaching my clients and helping them on how to be strategic in their job search and in their like interview process.
That's fantastic. So that new piece of the career, obviously, not only career aspects of change, right, with such a high unemployment, with companies pivoting and reorganizing and restructuring, and this is the piece where I play quite a bit in, and looking organizational structure, and so many positions are being shaved off, they may never be replaced. Things are definitely scaled back. Not all the products and services are in high demand, and then now we need to really figure out what we need to monetize, right, with existing and new types of clients, and how to satisfy them in the new ways. So what you're already doing is satisfying the huge job seeker pool. So what are you seeing, June, if you don't mind sharing from Concur standpoint, that as we're exiting 2020, we're going to be seeing more of in 2021?
Mm-hmm. I do see a lot of companies being more flexible, especially with working parents, being flexible and with flexible with different opportunities and positions. What I do see a lot too is a lot of, just speaking with my friends and some of my clients that have lost their jobs, I think what's going to continue is more people are going to start doing their own business, start doing freelance work. I also see that there's going to be more job seekers pivoting into like the gig economy, doing freelance work on Upwork, right? Project-based work. And what's funny is I kind of speak from my experience, because I've always been interested in social media. And although the bulk of my business is coaching, I have been approached and I have been hired for freelance projects for social media for entrepreneurs. So I think also too, because of, unfortunately, yes, there is companies still hiring, but we don't know what's going to happen with COVID going into the new year. Mm-hmm. I know that a lot of companies are hiring contingent contracts, like contract employees. So there's going to be more just companies kind of going that route, because we don't know where the economy is going to be going into 2021.
It's an excellent point. And one of the trends that I'm also seeing, June, is that even some positions that are hiring right now, let's say beginning of the new year, they're expecting for a new talent to work remotely, possibly mm-hmm. to work in office setting with a team June or July of next year, pending, right? How everything else unfolds. But what I'm also seeing, and why I'm so excited that we chose to discuss these three elements of entrepreneurship, career, and leadership, that a lot of jobs descriptions, and I don't know if you noticed that are written, are actually seeking a lot of entrepreneurial mindset and a lot of entrepreneurial skill set. So, which also tells me that right now, even giants are looking for people with entrepreneurial spirit that are not necessarily just working 9 to 5. There are a sense of ownership, sense of belonging, innovation, pushing things forward, and really looking every day how they not only themselves can be better, but how they can contribute an organization for organization to be better.
No, I agree with you too, just because I want to say the reason why companies are doing that, especially within the tech space, is because a lot of these companies too, like Twitter, for example, Twitter is fully remote now. Right. And a lot of these companies are allowing their full-time employees to be remote. And in order to move the ship forward, they want to make sure that they hire employees that have a growth mindset, that have that entrepreneur spirit that's going to go beyond the 40 hours a week. Right. I was working at these tech companies. I was working way more than 40 hours, but that's because I loved the work that I was doing. I love the tech world. I love the tech culture. And a lot of these tech companies too are hiring based on culture fit versus like actual experience, right? If someone has the entrepreneur mind, if they have the ability to navigate through adversity, bring new ideas, always constantly bringing new ideas, those are the types of employees they want to hire. So I always encourage job seekers, in between your job search, if you are looking for work, have a side hustle. Freelance, because these are the types of things that you could talk about in your interviews. And companies, based on my experience, working with these tech leaders, they love it when candidates say, oh, I do this. I volunteer here. Oh, I have this podcast. Oh, I have this e-commerce business. Because that's going to show the hiring managers that these employees or these potential candidates are forward thinking, and they're going to want to hire these people because they're going to bring those ideas to the company to generate more revenue, right? So absolutely, as far as companies hiring more people that have that entrepreneur mindset and spirit.
Excellent points. And what I really wanted to say, based on what I'm seeing also, and it really complements that, when you mention cultural fit, it's more than ever actually important to have a right fit with skill set and knowledge and be able to provide specific solution. Because a lot of times I'm also seeing the danger in organizations because we tend to hire people exactly similar like ourselves because it's comfortable, same types of personalities. So even if it's culturally fitting, but what are we doing with that fit? Are we more productive? Are we supporting more each other? Are we having different perspective and point of view? And it's funny, I always argue because of why these top guns are also bringing such a huge amount of external consultants and advisors, because usually to solve the problems from different perspective, you need a mindset from different perspective. And I feel like that even cultural fit is right now under, I wouldn't say scrutiny, but under major shift and change, what it actually means and how we need to allow more diverse point of view, ways of thinking, and even conversing, so that we're not always quote unquote in alignment and agreement. But are we really solving anything with all of that if we are, right?
Right, no, exactly. And then when I do say culture fit, I say like meaning more like the fast-paced environment. Like when I was working at the startup at Wish, it was very fast-paced and on that entrepreneur mindset. But the biggest thing is that also becomes with culture is like the adversity, because anyone that knows that has worked in the tech industry, not every day is going to look like the same. There's going to be fires thrown at you. But I agree with you too. I think that's another thing that companies are also focusing on too, is bringing more diverse talent. And that's what we need, because you don't, like you said, you don't want to hire everyone that has the same background, because how is the company going to grow? How are we going to bring new ideas if we're hiring the same person from the same schools, right? From the same experiences.
Exactly. And you know what's very interesting? I remember sitting and then doing assessment of the core team in this C-suite environment. And what was funny that from 12 people, 9 of them were absolutely the same types of personalities, specifically when we did a DISC assessment. And I was like, you guys, look at 9 of you are identical to each other in essence. And the other 2 or 3, they had a little underlined similarities, very close to it, and slight differentiation. And I was like, no wonder, yeah, you guys agree, you can move fast with, then the next item on agenda, but are you executing in a way that truly now requires the complexities that you guys are facing? So I'm glad that we're also depicting a little bit about that as well.
Yes. Yeah, because you always want to have different pairs of eyes looking at different things, right? Because in case you miss, you miss different things, like on a project or like a new product launch. So it's going to definitely take a diverse set of team to just kind of cover different areas. I know, like working with hiring managers, I always tell them, like, who is like your ideal, like who is like the best team on your player, or who is the best employee in your team. And then like they always say, oh, I have someone that's very organized, but they lack creativity. So I need someone that's going to offset that lack of creativity. So I will be willing to hire someone that is not as organized, but they bring new ideas. So it's basically like, think of it as like a basketball team, right?
Yes.
You have your point guard. You have, I don't know all the names of the basketball players.
Everybody has a different position that they need to play and do, but in the same time they need to work as an orchestrated team.
Exactly.
And because not singular individual and team sport cannot win the championship, not even the game, because they're codependent of each other. And I think it's a great analogy, because sports is so easy to relate to it, but when you talk about these high multi-million-dollar projects in tech industry, where is not only pressure for time but for quality and delivery, you have to really be able to deal with personalities that are collaborative and not only individually high performing, but also high performing as a team. And that's completely another ball of wax.
Right. It's another conversation.
Exactly. But in terms of now career and everything else, I also wanted to underline something that I think you already through your conversation just tonight, but also what I'm seeing from your feed and how you address certain topics and issues on LinkedIn specifically are great at it. Everything starts in my book, not because I studied, not because I'm extremely passionate about, with the leadership. And what differentiates some of these companies to be really great and desirable to work for. For example, you're recruited for Netflix. Yeah. And everybody under the sun that I know would love to have a part of, either working as a contractor or full-time employee, right, because of exceptional culture. So do you mind sharing a little bit? Because cultures do not happen by accident.
No.
They're always driven based on phenomenal leadership. What those leaders exude, what they deliver, what that consistency, that transparency, the type of behavior, right? And it's not just the mindset, but it's also that regular day-to-day operations and how do we really work together. So do you mind sharing a little bit what did you brought from that working for those Top Guns now into your practice, and how is that shifting? Yes. Please.
Oh my gosh. And I always feel blessed to have that experience working at these great organizations, because I do bring a little bit of what I've learned to my own business and how I treat my clients, how I show up on LinkedIn. I mean, if I could say the best experience I've had that has, oh my gosh, my time at Google was about 1.5 years. I felt like in that 1.5 years, I grew, oh my God, I grew maybe like 3 years in my professional development, you know, and made me see the bigger picture. The culture there is just, I can't describe it. Just the most compassionate leaders, forward-thinking leaders, sense of ownership. And also too, the way that they actually treat their employees, always pushing them and challenging them to do better. There's a lot of autonomy, which I enjoyed too. No micromanagement whatsoever. I wasn't constantly looking over my shoulders, seeing if my manager was like seeing if I was doing the right, if I was doing my job correctly. They really empowered their employees by bringing new ideas, having them. I almost felt like at my time at Google, I'm going to say specifically because that was like the best time of my tech career. I just had this like sense of ownership and pride of the work that I was doing, because like just saying like, oh, you like, congratulations, you just got an offer from Google. I was literally making dreams come true, and that's when it kind of hit me like, this is such a powerful brand, company, culture, best tech company in the world. It's powerful to be part of. But the culture is just, I don't know. They're constantly investing in their employees with learning and development, having the employees do workshops and conferences, and always putting their employees first with work-life balance as well. So, and that's what I try to do too, is incorporate that into my practice and my business. But I kind of take bits and pieces from each company I've worked with. I think that the reason why I love working at Wish is because it was a startup, and
right now you feel like a startup.
I am a startup. I am a startup. But I don't think I would be doing anything that I'm doing now if it wasn't for those past experiences. Because, it's definitely made me grow. It's definitely tested my ability to be resilient and navigate through challenges and adversity. So I'm definitely proud to have those experiences under my belt, because now I could say, I know what I'm talking about. I know what hiring managers are looking for because I hired for Google, and now it's my goal to teach you whatever I've learned. So you can be successful in your job search, in your interviews, when you're negotiating for more salary, things like that.
And what is really exciting, and thank you so much for sharing that, because it's kind of like redefining and rebuilding your DNA, that it's going to now get you the hybrid model, which is much so needed, because all the models that we had seen last year, even years prior, are now to some extent obsolete, or they're not as functional. And even those Top Guns that we're talking about here, from Google, Tesla, Wish to Netflix, all four of them are changing and shifting. And one thing they have in common, beside their ranking and success rate and great leadership, they're allowing their employees to fail. They have a culture that gives space for learning, for failure, for experimentation, and an opportunity to do. And one of the things I'm seeing, and that's why I also wanted to chat with you, is the four types of traits of future leaders that is so pivotal, because we have a huge leadership gap right now. And how do we deal with that? And for people that are inspiring leaders, or leaders in such a powerful positions, but yet lacking leadership traits to be successful, have to really start filling the gap quickly, as fast as possible. And as entrepreneurs, we're doing all four, I'm sure, and which I will share shortly what they are. And you will probably say, oh my God, yes, 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 and yes. And very few people are able to have all four traits in order to do this very effectively. But some of them are maybe much more developed in one area of other three, which is fine. But the beauty is recognize, again, as we're talking about the makeup of team and that DNA, we really have to have a combination of all of those. And one thing you already addressed which is that connector aspect. Not only connecting outside from that sale, from the speaking outside external stakeholders, but you also are able to build that and hone it with internal stakeholders, which is your talent. Most important stakeholders, actually, that for everything else from there flourishes, right? Then we have investors that are investing time and effort in talent and team internally, but they're also investing in these relationship externally. But again, they're looking things from analytics, what is working, what is not, how to pivot, and how to communicate so that everybody have a shared vision. Otherwise, I remember how many financials were not even details, but just general sense, not even disclosed. It's like, what are we targeting? What are we trying to accomplish? If you don't have no idea what are you aiming at, how can you then really do your job well? It's almost like bringing Top Guns, but not giving them all the tools and all information that you need. And then obviously explore, and this is what I feel like you've been doing in the last 6 months, exploring where the new opportunities, innovations, and new ways of doing, and doing it better, doing it less of, and really knowing how things really can pivot, shift, and change. And I feel like all of us in some ways being forced to be that, but not everybody's naturally having that explorer mindset, right?
That's so true. You hit like a really good point on four of those. Also to the piece of like looking at the data and the metrics, just to make sure that you have a plan in place. And you need that as an entrepreneur. You need to have that big plan. Like everything that you're doing as an entrepreneur is like, you have to ask, and that's one of my biggest things that I'm trying to do too, is not saying yes to everything, doing more purposeful work. And is it bringing me to the bigger picture, to the bigger plan for my business, you know? So I always try to reevaluate my strategy, especially to like my content strategy and my business plan, at least like once or twice a month, just to make sure if I'm moving in the right direction that I want to be. So they're all like correlated to what it takes to be a successful entrepreneur.
Yes, and you just mentioned the fourth one, which is producer, which I think also has the sense of, and what I'm doing, how is this pandemic currently affecting the economy, and how am I changing? What role do I play? What my consumers do need? How can I provide more benefits, right? How can I satisfy their needs? And am I really producing service or solution that is needed, or just because I'm so good at it that I'm trying to forcefully put it out there, right? And then also, how do we monetize on that in a way that it's truly beneficial, right? That is in cohesion with everything. And I think I saw something maybe a month ago that you posted. You can be anything but you cannot be everything. I think you posted that, didn't you?
I think I might have done that. I think so. I can't keep track of my posts.
And I remember there was just something combination, and it was like, that is so beautiful, because we really want to think that we can do so many things beautifully well, but it's like, can we really do everything?
Yeah, you can't. And I think that that was a post, because I think it's the part of me where I could sometimes be a little bit of a control freak, where I want to have my hands in everything in
And
my
we
business.
all.
Yeah. And then that's when I think it was a post where I decided to outsource for help, because why am I going to sacrifice my time and energy that's going to take away from me, my business, and my family, if I could just easily outsource that to someone that's going to do it a lot more effectively and efficiently in less amount of time, you know? So as an entrepreneur, I've learned that sometimes I just have to admit it, that I can't do everything. And you shouldn't be doing everything. If you want to work more smart, it's all about working smarter than not harder. Yes, you mean, you may need to outsource, but at the end of the day, it's gonna just help you long term.
Very, very true. And the reason why, again, going back to these 4 different elements of types of leaders, of future leaders that are so needed with everything else that is shifting, even though we can be all 4, we're not going to be naturally the best in all 4.
Mm-hmm.
It takes a lot of work and efforts to build that. But having, as you said, understanding who is better on one of these 4 elements, and then for us to still continue building upon, it is so important also to know, which is also letting go.
Yep.
And giving reins to somebody else. Like, I also have phenomenal digital creative on my team that I'm super, super jazzed. His name is Patrick Matanengo, and work he does for me. And we're just great in collaborating. I just love branding some ideas and bouncing off. And just, it's so nice to also know that you're not doing everything by yourself. But then also it's something that comes very easily to him in terms of choices and solutions. Like, I just let him, I was like, this is what I'm visioning. I'd like to see what you come up with. And I let him to go run with whatever idea he may have. And that is such a beautiful piece. It's such an enriching experience, because of some things I will not even think about it, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think for me, I think we're kind of similar, where I tend to be like the visionary, where I have all these crazy ideas. I just need to have someone execute it for me and help me like build my ideas and like bounce off ideas and see if there's like a better way of marketing it. And I actually do have someone that I've worked with that's helped me like build my online modules and my content for my course, my online course. And I don't know, I the beginning of this journey as an entrepreneur, it was very lonely in the beginning.
Oh, I bet.
But then now I feel like I finally have my tribe of people and my team, and also too like being connected with you and having you in my community and meeting so many amazing entrepreneurs on LinkedIn. I don't feel like I'm that much of a lone wolf anymore. Do you know?
Yes, absolutely. I could totally relate to that, because one of the things that we have all in common, we're obviously being meeting through a phenomenal platform of Growth Academy.
Yes.
And what is beautiful about that is that as the platform is growing, we're creating our own communities in a different ways. But the beauty is everybody offers something very unique. All the skill sets are very specific. Like, even recruiters, I was looking, I was like, I have so many different recruiters helping each other. They're specialized in different categories, in tech, in social work, in psychology,
mm-hmm. Yes.
or very like coaching, or whatnot. And I feel like it's not about, again, competing. It's about complementing and supporting. It's about partnership, and also shows really what the life is all about. If we don't know how to share, and I don't acknowledge your information or support or hold space for others people's successes,
mm-hmm.
I really don't want to be part of that. I'm just super jazzed when I see others succeeding. I'm super jazzed when I also find my aha moments and how I also can adjust the game and pivot. But the beauty is, again, even though we do a lot of things individualistically, it's just so great to see how this can complement with each other.
No, I love that. And there is enough business out there for everyone to be successful, right? I like, and what I like to see more of is like things like happening like this, where we are integrating each other's passions and collaborating. And that's what I love about Growth Academies. I've like since joining, I've had the opportunity to work with so many amazing people and learning from them and gain so many mentors and clients just because I don't know, it's all about just helping each other and building community and supporting one another. It doesn't feel like a competition at all. You know,
and that's how it should be. And because right now I feel like the timing of isolation, like you have a family, you have a children, you have a husband, and then you work from home, you're all dealing with all these dynamics. Some people like myself, I'm by myself. I don't have any of that, you know, and so can be also very lonely, but can be also very different ways of how we truly do on a daily basis and what we do. So it is just such a beautiful array of experiences, but also different ways of accomplishing things and always to learn something. I think it's tremendously helpful. So in closing for tonight's share, and having you, obviously this is not the last time on the show, I would love to, if you don't mind, just to reflect for a second, and when you think about everything we talked about, what would you recommend for people that are struggling? Not everybody is able to pull out of despair and challenges and difficulties as easy. What would you say to them as they're facing tremendous need for change? How they should start? What was helpful to you, and how should they be able to pivot so that they can also have this amazing trajectory of success like you're building in such a short period of time?
Thank you. I think the first thing is I want to say to your community is don't wait for things to go back to normal. This is our new normal. This is our reality. Own it. And if you recently experience a job loss or layoff, navigate through those emotions, grieve that process, embrace it, know that it's not your fault. I did a video about this, I think, recently. And invest in yourself. Before you even start something new, whether it's a business or if you're looking for work, invest in yourself, meditate, journal. You are worth it. You have skills. Everyone on this planet has value and skills to share on LinkedIn to the world. It's just a matter of actually identifying what your superpowers are and strengths are, because you are unique. So I just recommend just really take the time to write your goals down, think about what you want to do, experiment. This is a time where, I didn't know I was going to start a small thriving business during a global pandemic. I didn't know that until I started just following my fears and just showing up, right? For myself, for my family. But I did it because I wanted to inspire others to do the same. So my biggest advice is, I always say, own that this is where we are right now in this world in 2020 going into 2021. We don't know what's going to happen. Don't wait for things to change. This is your new reality. Think about what you want to do. Grieve that process. Experiment. That is my biggest. I could just choose one word for 2020 that has been beneficial to me, is being experimental.
Love it. I love it. Because you don't know what necessarily is going to work till you try it, and then pushing yourself, and digital footprint so essential. Oh, look at you now, so comfortable, not only with the videos, but with the lives and creating content in a way that is so relatable. But unless you tested, you didn't know. You didn't know A, who you will attract, B, who will be following, and who you will actually have as a future client.
Yeah. I also wanted to too, your digital footprint, your personal brand is more important more than ever, because we are in a remote environment. We don't know when we're going to go back to normal. So you have to, I always tell people too that are working, don't wait until you lose your job to build your personal brand. Always continue to network and collaborate, because you don't want to wait until you lose your job and you start from ground zero. Because that's what I did, you know? But yeah. I get a little bit passionate about personal brands.
No. That's a beautiful, and the reason I'm saying, I remember the personal brand got me in trouble, because I remember years ago, I already had in my book, I was speaking on the global stages, I was traveling, I was blogging, I was contributing to some couple major platforms. And I remember at that time, my boss, who was managing partner consulting firm, he was just like, so like he knew who I was way before I was hired. He saw my LinkedIn. He was all Google Gaga about that. But then when boiled down to conversation, he's like, you're doing things that that I'm not even doing. No consultants are doing. Like, you know, almost like, who do you think you are? And I realized, isn't it better? Isn't a consultant much more stronger, better, more capable if can communicate very well, understand different types of audience, can position not only for the effective communication, but content, and feel very comfortable using different media. Look now, all of those guys, where are they? They're not using digital footprint, but they're having expectations from their talent now to be overnight pros in something never done before. Doesn't happen that way.
No,
and it makes me laugh because I was like, might cost me relationship or particular job, but then was not nurturing environment. Then if you put in boxing people and if you're expecting that they're going to clock in and clock out and you can control their free time outside of the work, that is very unhealthy relationship.
Oh,
that is not right, and that is not right company to be part of. And it's everything that against what I was even 4 or 5 years ago. So now hearing you saying that just makes me smile because, guys, you have to try, and then you have to have a more skill sets than your degree and then your core expertise, because the guys are going to survive. They're going to be future leaders and be able to lead what the future leadership demands, and complexity of it is that individualized personal brand of whatever additional skill set that is.
Okay, that's another topic that you should bring me back on, because that's like something like I always tell people, like, the reason why I show up on LinkedIn as myself is because this is who I am. I'm not going to change. And I said this on a recent when I was interviewing at the Mom Project. I say that if companies don't like what they see, do you want to work at that company? Do you want to sacrifice who you are and just not be who you are every day for that position? No, you know, you are like, if you show up yourself fully authentically you are going to attract the companies, the clients that want to work with you. I've worked with clients who said, June, I love your dance videos.
But that is amazing, because again, you attract people based who you are, not because who you think you should be.
Right.
Or who they think you should be. That is the beauty about it. That is true, again, leadership and organization that allow people diversity, different ways of expression, but also personalities. And by the way, I love those. And I love the Christmas theme and all of that. That fits so well with you. And what are you trying to do?
Yeah, I'm very, like, I know I'm very quirky. That's my personality. But I know my stuff, you know, and my whole niche, or my whole theme is like edutainment. Like I am teaching you, but I'm entertaining you at the same time, because that's just who I am. I've studied drama for 4 years in high school. And that's what happened during this time of this pandemic, is I reconnected with my passion of acting and dancing. And now I'm doing it all over on LinkedIn, and people love it. So I'm going to keep on doing it.
That is fantastic. And I love that. And I also, as an educator, love different approaches and different styles. And I also need to connect back with my dancing from years and years ago that I put on hold. But the beauty is, again, finding that inner voice, inner energy, inner drive, and your big why leads to tremendous success, and attracting right people as well as the right tribe. It was an absolute pleasure having you here tonight.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for showing up, and looking forward to see what else is coming in months to come. And we'll definitely have you in 2021.
Yes, thank you so much, Isabella. I'll see you soon.
See you soon. Bye-bye.
Bye.